So am I looking at you? Yeah.
It's more whatever's comfortable for you.
But I'm not looking there. I'm looking at you.
You can look at whatever you want. So, do you want to go for the questions first, or do you want to?
No, just shoot it, baby.
All right. So we're here at day 2 of Digital Cultures Festival. You gave a talk during the first day, but you also gave one today. And would you introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Navid Khonsari and co-founder of Ink Stories. And we are an entertainment studio based out of New York. But most of our focus is on gaming, immersive, some virtual reality, and some documentary filmmaking.
Yeah, so you're working with a lot of different forms of storytelling right now. You've had a lot of experience in the gaming world, especially.
Yeah.
You told stories in many different formats, and your particular perspective is also slightly leaning towards gaming and immersive interactive experiences. You talked during your first talk, as well as today actually, about the role of personal stories in the global context and the global market. So you have a very strong personal story, which you return to very often. And would you say a bit about that personal story of yours?
Sure. I mean, I think it's part of 1979 Revolution Black Friday was a video game we did about the Iranian Revolution, which had a definitive impact on my life as I had left Iran and wind up going to Canada. So I had to flee my country as a result of that. And so I wanted to go back and visit that and really understand that. But also at the same time, I live in North America now, and I live in a place which anybody who's really under the age of 40 only knows Iran from what they see on TV, which is like mullahs and seeing women in veils. So for me, it was to try to break that potential and unfortunate kind of identity. So the idea was like, that's not what Iran was like. And so wanted to make sure that people saw the Iran that I grew up in rather than just what's been reported in the past 40 years. So that was that element for me that's kind of personal. With Lily, it's a little bit different. That's a personal in terms of the present, because I'm culturally Iranian, but I'm also a global citizen, and a global citizen that's concerned about what's going on in the name of security, the concept of surveillance, the concept of denying information, the ability to cut and control information, deep fakes, our data, all of these things that are like global issues are personal to me. And using Iran was really actually a foil, because everyone is quick to point out that these are the problems that exist in other parts of the world, but the fact is that this is a global problem. So it's personal in the fact that I'm Iranian, but it's also personal in the fact that I'm a global citizen.
I feel like the role of the personal story as a creator is really important, because when you're making something, the thing that has the greatest impact in every single case, and that's what makes it a very interesting phenomenon, is the passion you have for it. If you're not passionate, if you don't care about what you're doing, you can be a really talented person with a lot of skills, and it's probably not going to come out all that well. So it is important to bring the passion, bring something that you really care about, so you can flesh it out and pour some of those emotions in. The issue is, right, when you're making something for the global audience, you take this great passion that you have, and the passion is there in the project. But now you need to get the global audience to engage with it. Right? And I wanted to talk about that. How do you take something personal and you make it so that everybody can interact with it as if it was theirs as well?
I think you find the common ground that's actually relatable, right? So I think we can all, anyone who's ever been a child has gotten in trouble with their parents at some point. Anybody who has gone to a wedding has engaged with the joy and maybe shed a tear in terms of that. Anyone who's seen suffering, no matter what, has had some sadness in them. So it's about taking what is the common ground for all humans and making that relatable, and then putting the story kind of in that's actually unique to that culture or that part of the world to make it global. So I go into the universal connection And then I get specific with that specific world that we're trying to kind of create.
We just talked a moment ago with Stein about artistic journalism, right? And you are a storyteller, you are a creator of entertainment, but you also have a lot of elements of journalism. It is a very important thing to you to include elements of direct truth, no embellishment or diversion or modification. There are elements which are just pure truth, trying to throw that seed in there or grow something around it.
Yeah.
So what would you say are the differences between mediums that are focusing on storytelling or entertainment and mediums that also involve journalism?
Well, I mean, I think that, how this all kind of came about was that I've been working very much on big games that are there to kind of entertain. And I felt like we were doing a disservice by not doing actual real stories based on real people and real events. So I think it was, and we started the term verite games. So the whole idea was let's use the medium in telling these different kind of stories that are based on real kind of people, but also know that if we're going to tell stories about real people, there's other challenges that we might have. So what can we learn from the commercially successful games and bring it over to this to give this the greatest chance for it to succeed? Because personal stories, sometimes people actually don't want to engage because they want to just kind of limit themselves to say, oh, well, games are just strictly meant to be entertaining. Well, yeah, they can be entertaining, and then they can also have value as well beyond just being a Hollywood knockoff kind of story. So for me, that's really kind of where it kind of came from. And then as a result, journalism just naturally kind of stuck because journalism is the pursuit of truth. Journalism is the pursuit of stories that matter, of stories that affect humanity. And so it was more of trying to tell real stories, and in that process of researching it, in that process of being truthful to it, being credible to it, and being authentic, that we started seeing the similarities with journalism.
You talk about getting the story to the people, like getting the journalistic truth, the facts to the people in this more entertaining, accessible form, right? And we talked yesterday, actually, about one of the things that was very interesting to me, which was the choices in games, right? And how you blend that with the narrative. And you gave me an insanely perspective-shifting take on it, which is a lot of the things, including the choices that you design for the game, are meant to align the player with the characters and with the situation, because there are levels to the sort of engagement that you can create, and the character obviously needs to react to the player's control.
Yeah.
And it's sort of adapting to the personality of the player. But as it goes on, the form of choices and the environments through which the player travels together with the character, it also shifts the player. And it's this gradual realignment that allows you to bring people, right, through a relatively wide funnel with no resistance. People can just fall in expecting and receiving entertainment, right, and slowly molding them so that they can then withstand the actual experiences that you want to provide them with, the journalistic truth and the perspectives which they could have avoided. One of the talks mentioned the vulnerability that one experiences when talking about personal stories. And a funny flip side of this is it's experienced not only by the storyteller, but also by the audience. A lot of people shy away from difficult topics. We get scared just being in the proximity of this vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
And sort of by creating this gradual funnel, you give the player the opportunity to experience everything firsthand. You talked about this, how the difference between film and gaming is the protagonist.
Yes.
You don't watch the protagonist.
No.
You don't just stand and observe his actions. You participate.
You are the protagonist.
You are the protagonist. Yeah. And that's the big difference, right? Yeah. Is that what drew you to video games and those forms of media?
I think so. I mean, I was actually intrigued also by the challenge of it. I started off in film, enjoy film, and enjoy kind of writing stories for film because it's actually a lot easier. But when you come to make the character a protagonist and yet you still want to have real kind of strength in your narrative, it's a challenge. And so the challenge really kind of comes about is like, how can I get any player to connect with this very specific individual? And part of that is like, well, give me the choices, enable me to connect with this. Let this avatar become the kind of carrier of me as a player into this world. But I need to connect with that avatar. So providing choices that are morally in line with who the player is, that is a great way to kind of do that. And then you could put greater like world challenges onto the character and onto the player specifically, so that they can kind of navigate it. So it's really kind of important, and certainly like something that I've learned, and something that I'm continually always challenged with. It's never a slam dunk. It's always a work in progress, because it's a real fine balance. If you try to give them too much, then your character in the game is kind of generic.
Yeah.
If you give them too little, the players aren't happy, because they're like, I have no control. Like, this is being like very much a forced kind of linear experience. So it's a really kind of fine balance. And I think that's something that you, especially through the process of development and production, and especially once you start testing, we start seeing, okay, well, this is that fine line we have to kind of ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You create this space for this interaction, and balancing it is very difficult. But what you get at the end, the only way you can call it is an experience, right?
Yeah.
It's creating a time and space and the circumstances for things which you can't really experience otherwise.
Yeah.
You know, in the West, we are very much used to our freedoms, and we're not even aware of how lucky we are.
Yeah.
We can do essentially everything. There are limitations, sure.
Yeah.
From the perspective of somebody so free,
Yeah.
you can see the cage around us.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have an incredible amount of freedom of speech that's being threatened. That's our cage we see above the clouds, right? But the truth is, when you look at it objectively, right, even had the situation regressed immensely, we would still be very, very fortunate from the perspective of history,
other parts of the world,
and from the global perspective.
Yeah.
So in the West, we sort of take these experiences, the fact that we can go protest, or we can go to an art exhibition, or to a conference, or we can learn to fly, or we can travel across the world and talk to all the different people and exchange opinions and thoughts. We take all of that for granted. Right now, we're in Poland, Warsaw, and we're safe.
Yeah.
And we're fed and we're warm. So the form of media, the storytelling that you provide it's amazing, but it's not quite as drastic in contrast to the rest of our lives, right? Because we're showered with freedom and experiences.
That's right.
But one of the things that you talked about in your first talk was how these experiences in video games and other immersive and interactive media, for some people, especially outside of the West, are the only way to get those experiences. You talked about women absolutely falling in love with GTA, right? And you think, oh, what's happening there? And it was for a very simple reason. For the freedom.
Yeah.
The things that drew them to GTA were not the same things that would draw like a teenager in the West. Oh, I want to have so much fun. I want to blow stuff up. I want to be, this larger than life character. Yeah, that's the things that like break through the noise in the West. Yeah. But in so many places, other places in the world, the experience of being able to drive. Yeah. Or being able to go on a walk, right? Or being able to see things and like hear people talk. Those are experiences which are so incredibly rare and valuable to those people.
And I think there's a flip side to that too, though. The West also hasn't experienced things like a revolution. So showing them like a game like 1979 Revolution allows them to transport into a place that they would never know. You know what I mean? There's a flip side. From one side to the freedoms that are experienced by others, and from those who are free to actually understand the limitations of the others. So it kind of goes both ways.
Yeah, it's as I said, like there are limitations in the West, right? And we see them because we're free
But I mean, the
people.
limitations because you have the freedom. So as a result, there's not an understanding of hardship. There's not an understanding of,
the perspective changes it all, right?
Exactly. Government control to that level. It's just like, oh, okay. And now that you go there, you're like, oh, I can understand now why people would be so depressed and why they seek freedom in a GTA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about immersion and really becoming the character, right? And it's this thing where truly great media will shift your perspective for the rest of your life. As I said, in the West, we look around when we complain, oh, this is limiting us, and rightfully so, right? We want to improve the situation. And we look above the clouds and we see the cage that we're in, trying to get out of it. But we often forget to look down and see that we're standing on top of a ladder, right?
Yeah.
We climbed out of this pit.
Yeah.
And there are people down there who don't have the same freedom, who would love to be in our position, right? And it's important to look up, but to have the awareness of what's around us, to not just look at our own problems, but look down and look right and left everywhere around you. And the experiences that you provide through these storytelling mediums, I feel like that's probably a great path towards that, to lure people in.
Yeah. I mean, I think you kind of said it all. So yeah, I mean, I'm that's where our headspace is at, and that's the kind of goal is to shed light on both sides of how to understand the other. Really, that's kind of the goal, is like, how can you use this medium to allow people to experience the other, to have experiences that they wouldn't necessarily be able to have in normal life. Some of it be limiting, some of it be freeing. So that's the power of interactive kind of and immersive experiences.
What are your thoughts on the event so far you've had?
I've really, I mean, it's been a phenomenal event. Really enjoyed Warsaw. I mean, it's my first time. It's beautiful. I really, really loved it. Everyone's been really, really generous and kind. But I've also thought like the conversations have been really, really interesting and intriguing. The stuff that was done on the journalism kind of conversations really kind of opened up my eyes to the potential of journalism and art, and I think that that's incredible. I thought some of the Polish games that we saw yesterday were really, really impressive and fantastic. So, and it's been great. I mean, I've had a really, really wonderful time, and I've learned a lot. So it's been all around a fantastic trip.
Yeah. It was a great experience for me as well. I came not quite knowing what to expect. Yeah. And you come from abroad, you were thrown into it. You didn't have any expectations or biases to break. But for me, from the perspective of a Polish citizen, it was actually amazing and very, very surprising that a space like this has been created, right? With enormous effort, I'm sure, from Anna Schiller, the curator of the event, and many other people. A place so forward-looking and so accessible and open. It actually made me very optimistic about the direction that the country might take. Yeah. And we just have to hope that there is more initiatives like this, both here and everywhere across the world. We need to get these experiences to as many people as we can in Iran, in Poland, in the US, everywhere. Exactly. There's never going to be enough progress to be made, right?
No, absolutely. Well, I guess it's been great, and thanks for being a big part of this and helping Sal out with learning, growing, educating, and sharing.
I love talking to you.
Thank you very much.
I hope there's going to be another opportunity to meet somewhere.
If not here, New York, wherever. The world is a big place.
I'm broke right now.
Yeah. Well, soon enough.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Love talking to you. Love your talks.
Thank you.
I'll link any social media and stuff that you have in the description. The audience isn't big, but we'll see what happens.
All right, cool.
All right. See you. Love talking to you.
Thank you very much
again.
Absolutely. My pleasure.